just want to record a quick training update. I obviously haven't really been putting out a ton of content just because I've been so busy between switching jobs and then working Lollapalooza. Now I'm starting training at my old company, but in a totally different role as a flatbedder. I started training. I'm very tired because I stayed up too late last night, and I have been super struggling with fatigue today, and it really was a bummer because today was the first day that we started securement training for those of us doing flatbed. I was having a really hard time following it and staying focused because my eyelids were heavy, and yep, this thing is falling. God, what a pain in the ass this thing is. A part of it too is you're in these rooms with no windows and there's air conditioning and fluorescent lighting, and that knocks me out. It makes it really hard for me to concentrate, and I get super fidgety, and I feel bad because the person next to me is probably really annoyed by my fidgeting. I had a hard time focusing, and then we had to take this test, which is open book, open notes, they have like two separate guidebooks that you can use to reference, or two separate reference books, and then you can use Google too, and that makes it sound like it's super easy, but it's still actually not. There's a bunch of it that is pretty easy, but there's enough of it that isn't, involves math, and it stresses me out. And it stressed me out a lot today because I was struggling so much to focus in general, and it was all about securement and the amount of weight that certain types of, I can't even say the words right now because I'm so tired, but like certain chains and straps and different things, and like different types of coils and the way different coils are loaded and all this stuff. It's critical to know and understand this stuff. I will tell you this, those of you who've been following me since I was doing the Conestoga flatbed job before, you'll remember the reason I left that is I didn't feel like the training was adequate, and I was so right. And now I see how right I was to leave there, because what I was doing was super dangerous, and I knew it was, but well, that's why I left. Because now I'm realizing, wow, I had a very vague and very general understanding of what I needed to be doing, and these things are all dictated by very specific laws. So you should never be hauling any type of flatbed freight if you're not very confident that you're doing it correctly. Maybe I will be able to hang in flatbed and maybe not, but I want to so much. I want the challenge, I want the physicality, I want to prove that I can do it because it intimidates the fuck out of me, and that makes me want to do it more. I'm telling you, I'm not exaggerating at all when I tell you that the majority of the people in the room with me, there's one other female who's also petite. The rest of the people in there are men who are built like fucking linebackers, for real. Like, you could say, oh, that guy's a linebacker for such and such team, and you'd believe it. Because they're all like at least 6 feet tall. They all have super broad shoulders. They're big, heavy set dudes who have the weight behind them to handle this type of work in a way that makes it 3 times easier than it's gonna be for someone my size. It's just a fact, and my weight, So does that stress me out? It sure does, but I just have to try it. All I can do is try. If I fail, I fail, but I don't want to, man. I wanna be able to do it because I don't know why. Because I'm a masochist. Is it sadist? Masochist? No, masochist. Sadomasochist? You know what I'm trying to say. Something along those lines. So this week doesn't feel great because like the instructor gives off crappy energy, and like it's just a weird vibe, but it's being back in trucker world after being out of trucker world, and that phrase is something I keep saying to myself. It's a very specific kind of place, and the vibes there are weird a lot of the time. Anyway, I sound kind of mean. I don't mean to. I'm just very tired. So that's been training so far this week. A lot of repetition, stupid videos, super stupid, that you have to watch because their insurance company mandates it, and they won't even like they won't sign your official hiring paperwork until you do these videos, and they're real salty. Well, this instructor was hella salty about it this morning because I had watched the videos last night that I thought made me compliant where I needed to be, and I apparently had missed 2 videos, and he doesn't say hi to me, and I walk in today, he's like, I'm not hiring you today because you didn't do 2 videos. And I was like, oh, okay, sorry. All right, man. Oh, I didn't tell you the kicker. The kicker was when we had to do that test today, and you have to pass with like 70%. Should be easy, right? Should be in theory when you're rested. He came in there because there's a different instructor for the securement training. Both of these guys think they're comedians, and this guy comes in and from across the hall, and the two of them start doing a full-on bit for like 5 full minutes, and it's all them like making fat jokes at each other kind of thing. And me and the guy next to me are kind of grumbling and the guy next to me totally knows what's up. Like, he's on this test. He's already like finished with it when I'm halfway through it. I'm like, oh man. And even he's annoyed. And I'm like, what is with these dudes? Like, do they not know we're taking a test that is very important, not just to us getting hired, but to like testing whether we understand these critical things about doing this fucking job, and they're sitting here doing a fucking bit. I was pissed. I was like, okay, I don't have the bandwidth for this bullshit today, but yeah, sometimes you just gotta deal with people. Anyway, I'll let you guys know how I did when I find out. Hello again, just another little update. Now that I've had some rest, I'm a little bit more energized and motivated, and hopefully less cranky than the last video that I recorded, which was yesterday afternoon. It's Friday today. It's the last day of the first week of training, and then next week I will have a week of securement training, and I just want to sort of follow up on what I said yesterday about that. I didn't do the best job of explaining that there were multiple instructors that I was talking about and stuff. I mean, I talked about how there were 2 instructors that were doing a bit while we were trying to take our securement test. Anyway, the instructor that teaches securement and also taught us today out on the yard he's a really good instructor, and I'm really glad to have worked with him. Even though I might have had moments of annoyance, I just want to say that it's so great when you have an instructor who has experience teaching people, and it shows. I was telling him today, I was like, I'm not trying to blow smoke or anything, but I just want to say I appreciate the way you taught this. I feel like it was really, I said, I think you're a very effective teacher. And he's like, oh, well, that's good to hear. He's like, you know, have been a teacher for a long time. So I was like, oh, what did you, remembered he had said that. And I was like, what did you teach? And he was a special ed teacher for a long time. And I was like, that's awesome. I love people who do something like teach special ed. Teaching in general takes it's a special person to do that, but to do something like teaching special ed, or actually, now that I'm thinking about it, what his specific wording was, I don't remember if he said special ed or like students that have special needs of some type that are more of a challenge to teach, let's say. So anyway, that explains why he can teach truck drivers. So yeah, I am really grateful to be getting more thorough instruction on securement. One thing that I really like is that the way that they require us to do securement, it goes beyond DOT basic minimums. That to me is awesome. It's like, I would rather be overdoing things in a way that's correct, obviously. I've already learned things that contradict things I had learned before that were, the word bad was a Freudian slip, but they were bad. They were not the right things. Something as simple as not over tightening chains. That was something I didn't know before, but you actually weaken the load limit of a chain when you tighten it too far. That's not going to be a problem for me, really, but it's going to be a problem for the linebackers that I was in class with, because those guys are, one of those guys, I was looking at his arms and I'm like, your forearm is like the size of my leg. Like, you're gonna have no problem tightening this stuff down. And so, you know, it's hard for me not to get a little concerned or worried about my capacity to do certain things because of my size, because there's just a reality. I only have so much height and weight to work with, and that's why strategy is really important. There's always strategy and technique involved. Today we were throwing straps, and they made us throw them over a trailer that was 13.6, and I could get one over the one way of throwing, which is the only way that I was able to throw in the past, which is jumping and throwing it. And he's like, you're throwing it more like a free throw. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the only way I know how. Then he showed us another method. I couldn't quite get it, but he's like, well, you're not going to have to throw anything that high anyway. And I can definitely throw something that's high, but not near 13.6. So I can handle throwing straps, but I could feel my shoulders starting to talk to me pretty early on. And that's because if you're going to do things like throw straps or move chains around and stuff like that, it's really better if you're warmed up a little bit first, if you can be. So that's something I definitely intend to do. But what I was more like concerned about than that is using winch bars and tightening down winch straps to the point that they need to be tightened to. That's something that requires weight. That's something that can be a challenge for me because of my not being a heavy, bigger person. That's one of the big challenges that I have, is just figuring out strategies to properly tighten things, get them fully secured, and be able to also then remove them. And one of the things we worked with that I hadn't worked with before were, I'm gonna forget what these are called. There's ratchet binders, and then there are, dang it, I'm forgetting what they're called, but it's another type of binder. For those of you who are not in trucking, they're these things that have hooks on either end that hold lengths of chain together and help to secure things that have to be secured with chains, like in extremely heavy metal coils that can weigh tens of thousands of pounds, and are very dangerous to haul and have to be secured in a very specific manner to make it impossible for them to roll off the bed of the truck and kill people, basically. Whatever that other type of binder is that I'm forgetting the word for, it like opens and closes, and it opens with a lot of force, so you have to like stand back and you have to use a tool to open it. I'll be back because someone's calling me from my work. All right, well, that was one of the people at the company that was checking in to see if I was still planning to do flatbed or if I was gonna do curtain side, which is an option. Curtain side does not use chains because so I guess they must not move any coils, which would be much easier and less scary. But I gotta tell you, getting out in the field today and practicing and going over stuff, it reinforced for me why I love flatbed, why it draws me in, because I love the challenge of it. I love being outdoors. I love having to learn new skills, and there's a little voice in the back of my head that's like, what if you can't do it? What if you're too small? What if you're not strong enough? And I'm like, you be quiet, because I've seen other women do flatbed. And there was another woman at this company that I met when I first started working there last year, who was smaller than me, who was on the national flatbed fleet. So I'm like, if she can do it, I 100% can do it. My dad used to say, can't, never could. It's not a matter of whether or not I can. It's a matter of respecting the fact that everything comes with a learning curve, and you have to adapt to new challenges, and you can. And a lot of things are in your head. Yeah. So anyway, she was asking me, we were a little bit confused. Are you planning to do flatbed or curtain side? And I explained to her, well, I had been uncertain before, and I had discussed with the recruiter I would like to start on, and I had discussed with someone who's the head of the flatbed division. I was wanting to start on flatbed, which is more involved, more challenging, involves tarping, versus curtain side, which obviously doesn't have all the same freight, no chains required because chains don't go on those curtain sides. And did I say no tarping? No tarping. So I guess that means probably no lumber loads also. So it's a different set of loads that you would be moving, slightly different regions. I think I know they go northwest, which is somewhere I really wanted to go. But I figured, okay, let me try doing this. If I feel like it's too much for me, maybe I want to go back to it at another point. Maybe I don't want to do it at all, but maybe curtain side is a better fit. Then that's an option possibly. I did hear in training that there might not be as many openings in curtain side because there's a lot of people who've been doing flatbed for long enough that they say, F this, I'm not tarping anymore, and they just want to do curtain side. Understandable. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm just feeling really glad that I made the choice to do this. I think there's a good chance that I could probably, okay, let me back up. I don't know how much money I'm gonna make on this. I know that because it's a larger training company, there's a very good chance the pay is not going to be what it would be at maybe a smaller flatbed company or different flatbed companies. But I feel really good about the training I'm receiving right now. And I think that if it doesn't end up being a place that I would want to stay for very long, but I really enjoy doing flatbed, it at least is an excellent stepping stone. So I will be going for another week of securement training, and then I will be training with a day cab driver who does like 3 loads a day. So that'll give me a lot of chance to practice, and that's like 3 days minimum, and possibly a couple more if they decide that you need more time, or if you decide that you want more time, they will have you out with that trainer a little bit longer. So I'm eager to see how that goes. When you start driving on their flatbed account, for the first 6 months that you work on that account, I believe you have to send a photo of your securement work to the company and get approval before you're allowed to leave a job site. And I know probably some of you longtime truckers or longtime flatbedders might find that cringy. I am not embarrassed about the idea of having my company double check my work when it involves things that are so dangerous. And when I was working for that small company, that little 2-man 1099 deal, driving around the very old, damn near 20-year-old Volvo with a rusted out battery compartment, I sent them photos of my work and they were like, good to go. And then one of those loads found out I had a strap that was cut through like butter because I did not properly secure the load. And it was metal, rolls of metal sheeting, and it's dangerous stuff to be transporting when it's not properly secured. Really, anything can become dangerous if it's not properly secured. So I want my work to be checked by people who are checking it correctly, and fine, babysit me, dude. That's cool. I don't mind. I'm not embarrassed. Whatever. So I think that's it. I'm off for the whole weekend, which feels weird. It makes me feel kind of guilty, like I should be working at all times. I should always be exhausted, or I'm not working hard enough. But I'm stuck in a place, kind of stuck. I'm an hour outside of Chicago. Like, do I want to take a drive? I don't really have anywhere that I necessarily want to stay. I don't want to overstay or, encroach on people's space. So I'm going to hang out here tonight and just do some exercise and then chill for the evening. But anyway, I will update you guys when there's more to share about my training adventures. And I hope this isn't totally boring for whoever's watching it.